could be true, could find other buyers, could find other folks who maybe can come in and can skate by that concentration aspect, or what is perceived to be monopolistic, or let's say stifling to competition is sometimes that phrase that's used. But what does that mean in terms of whether it's a good idea to be invested in them? Well, that's really up to you. Because there are some, there's even a particular strategy that's out there that's called arbitrage. And arbitrage is essentially the ability or using the ability of buying companies that are part of merger and acquisition activity in order to profit from the spread, meaning the likelihood of whether it's going to happen, because there's a difference or there's a spread between the time when the deal is announced and when it actually happens. And so there are longs and shorts, those who are thinking it's going to happen or not going to happen, who make pretty sizable bets on both sides of that kind of thing. This particular instance with Kroger and Albertsons didn't happen. And the market, I would say by means of what the stock price did, actually liked that idea that it wasn't going to go through. It doesn't always happen that way. So that's the kind of thing that you want to be very mindful of whenever you're looking at merger and acquisition activity. Sometimes folks say, well, I'm going to buy this stock because I think that it's going to be bought out. Well, it might be. We don't know that unless you have insider information, and then legally, you shouldn't be trading on insider information. But then above and beyond that, even if you do think it's a likely buyout candidate, it doesn't necessarily mean that whoever attempts to buy them, that it's going to go through. And that's really what we're seeing here. So I'm spending a little bit of time on this. Yes, it's a little bit academic. Yes, it's a little bit 101 when we're looking at this Kroger-Albertsons deal. But it does spill over into literally every sector and with all kinds of merger and acquisition activity. So appreciate you letting me get into it there, because it's the kind of thing you want to pay attention to. Folks are making those arguments all the time. This is a reason to buy. This is a reason to sell. It may or may not be always pertinent, though, to be able to keep that kind of thing in mind. Friends, thanks so much for hanging with us. Going to hear from our sponsors coming back here on Dollars and Cents.
Dobi continues straight ahead on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, especially compared to our 70 degrees yesterday, things are a lot chillier now as we go throughout the rest of the work week. Partly cloudy, temperatures only climb into the low 50s for the afternoon. We'll drop back tonight into the upper 30s, near 40. For our Friday, it's mostly cloudy. High temperatures back in the low 50s. A couple of showers possible for the afternoon and evening. As we get into the weekend, things are going to get downright cold. High temperatures in the low to mid 40s Saturday, only approaching 40 Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Friday night, downtown Mooresville welcomes everyone to their Mistletoe Sip and Shop. The unique businesses will be offering open houses, store specials, deals, gifts, treats, and the Harmony Grits Quartet. Bring your favorite people and enjoy shopping small this holiday season in the heart of Mooresville. The Mistletoe Sip and Shop is Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. along Main and Broad Streets in downtown Mooresville. Saturday is the annual Lake Norman Lighted Christmas Boat Parade. The parade will start at Blythe Landing, continue past Ramsey Creek Park and the Peninsula Yacht Club, with the Duke Energy Explorium being the grand finale. The event will be collecting toys for Little Smiles, who work with area children's hospitals to make sure children in their care have toys all year long. Please bring an unwrapped toy if you are attending. Santa and food trucks will be at the Explorium. For details, please email cbaycharlotte@gmail.com or search for the annual Lake Norman Lighted Christmas Boat Parade on Facebook. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway is happening now through Sunday, January 5th. The light show features more than 5 million lights synchronized to music on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield, plus a festive Christmas village. The show runs nightly from 6 to 10 p.m., rain or shine. Drive-in movies are shown on the gigantic Speedway TV Thursdays through Sundays. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. From our WSIC family to yours, we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy holiday season. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Call Call now to speak with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi at 844-STUDIO-4. It's dollars and cents on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, football reference. It's football season, folks. You're going to get a lot of it. I mean, it's going to be the kind of thing where we're in that time of the year and in the mix of the NFL and college football season. If you flip around the channels a little bit, I know we don't do that much anymore because you can pretty much change channels on your phone to whatever you want. But if you're a little bit older like me, when flipping around the channels was actually a real thing and you even had to use your hand on the television to do it, you're probably going to bump into a football game or two or three or five. I even heard on Saturday of this weekend, producer Reese checked me on this, that we got both NFL and college football games because we got the college football playoff starting this weekend. So we got 12 teams in the Division I college football playoff this time around. First time that we're doing that. Some controversy, especially if your team didn't make the mix. Maybe if your team did make the mix there on the 12, that you weren't ranked as high as perhaps you would have preferred. But we're going to have both college and NFL, and it's going to be a big one. I mean, it's a big weekend, and again, the reason why I bring it up here on Dollars and Cents, and I say this very seriously, it is absolutely about money. I mean, my goodness, some of the stories I've read. I have to talk to Joe Berg as well, which, by the way, he's going to be coming up on the scoreboard here right after Dollars and Cents. Take a listen to that as well. Get caught up in all things sports related here on WSIC starting at 5 o'clock. But we've got amazing amounts of NIL money floating around. Name, image, likeness. It's really the opportunity for college athletes, especially big-time Division I college athletes, to be paid, essentially to be paid for the use of their name, image, likeness. I mean, it's amazing. Some of the demands that are out there right now, I've just seen some of them. I don't keep up as much as probably I should on those kinds of things. It's amazing what some of these players are demanding right now, and in many instances getting it. It's almost like every single season right now is free agent season. It's amazing. I'm spending time on it intentionally. Huge business, folks. Where's it going to land? I don't think it's going to stay in its current iteration. There has to be some guardrails that are eventually put in place on this thing. But if you're thinking about that, call Joe Berg, running the scoreboard here at 5 o'clock here on WSIC. He's going to be up here in about 40 minutes or so. But I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents. We were giving attention to all things monopolistic there in the first segment. I know it gets a little bit academic when we're looking at that kind of stuff, but it's important to keep in mind. I mean, like I said there in that segment, if Google gets broken up, my opinion, the value of that company being broken up is probably going to be greater than the whole, meaning the parts as they're segmented and actually valued standing in and of them among themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually worth more than Google as a standalone company is. So again, just my opinion on that kind of thing. By the way, Google, publicly traded company, ticker symbol, actually two different ones, depending upon the share class that you buy. GOOG, Green, Oscar, Oscar, Green. Those are the C shares. A shares, Green, Oscar, Oscar, Green, Larry, are the ticker symbols. Not a recommendation, again, to buy, sell, or hold that stock. But a big deal. Huge player. They are dominant. Can't say they own it, but they are certainly dominant in the search end of things. So it'll be interesting to watch that as it makes its way through the mix. All right, let's stay a little bit academic. Stay with me here. I know we got to get through some of this news-related kind of stuff, but I'm going to break it down and share it with you about how I think it's applicable to all of us as well. Federal Reserve Board met again this week, widely anticipated, let me say almost completely anticipated by folks in my end of the universe, that they were going to reduce the overnight lending rate to member banks by another 0.25 percentage point. They did. That happened yesterday, as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of the time of this recording, if you're listening to it. Another 0.25 point reduction. Again, almost completely assumed. I think that would be the most appropriate verb to use, assumed by the market going into it, especially as judged by the futures markets going into the meeting. And but what was most important, and I think most important, especially when we hear from the Federal Reserve, in my opinion, is what the chairman has to say in the news conference that follows, because that's really, insofar as we allow him, because we dissect every syllable of what he says. It's crazy. We do. And I can't put myself in that category. I am saying we, but we, the investing and financial public, Definitely look at every deep breath he takes, body language, in addition to what he actually says. But he came through and said the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, probably going to be less enthusiastic. My interpretation now, less enthusiastic about cutting rates more in 2025. And as expected, equity markets definitely didn't like that because the equity markets like it, generally speaking, when rates are reduced, lower cost of capital, easier ability to generate higher margins, according to the markets. Not always true, but according to the markets. And so that should be a positive thing for stocks. Again, not a one-to-one correlation, but we in the financial, economic, investing universe, we sometimes think in straight lines. You hear me say that all the time, and certainly we were doing that yesterday when the market sold off hard after the Fed chair's comments and before the close yesterday. So we definitely saw a pullback. Now today, kind of a mixed bag. So the day following, what were we expecting? Kind of wait and see. What did the market want to do after that? Kind of a mixed bag. Some things positive, some things negative. Pretty normalized, I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, and looking at what the market was doing. Not a continued sell-off, which I thought was interesting. So it was almost like yesterday was a reactionary, maybe even machine-based trading on the news coming out of the Federal Reserve Board meeting. But we didn't see a continued sell-off today. So very, very interesting. Going to be watching that, and of course I'll be talking about that more in the final segment of today's show. But definitely had to mention it with the Federal Reserve cutting the overnight lending rate again by those 25 basis points. All right, let's keep going here, talking about what's happening. This is a big one. Boy, this time of the year. Wow, it would be hard. It would be hard. I'm chuckling. You're going to understand why here in a minute. It would be hard to identify a company right now. Well, there'd be a couple. Actually, let me backtrack that a little bit. There are a couple of companies out there that when we're thinking about the retail shopping experience, where they just immediately pop to the top of your mind, right? And it's because they are very nearly ubiquitous in our experiences. They are everywhere. And certainly, whether it's an in-person kind of shopping experience or a delivery kind of shopping experience, you know where I'm going with this. So you got Target, publicly traded company, TGT, not a recommendation. Buy, sell, or hold that stock. Walmart, WMT, again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold Walmart. And then the one I'm going to talk about here, Amazon. Boy, you talk. I mean, there are almost more Amazon vehicles on the road right now than there are regular vehicles. It is amazing, especially if you're in any kind of urban area or higher concentration of population. It's amazing. There are a lot of people getting a lot of stuff right now coming out of Amazon. So that's why I'm chuckling about it. But what I'm going to say next is not a laughing matter, especially for folks at Amazon, and then certainly for folks who may be expecting Amazon. Don't get too wound up on this. I've had a lot of folks ask me about what the impact's going to be with regards to shipment of packages. But Amazon, again, publicly traded company, AMZN, Alpha Mary Zulu Nancy, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds for that matter. But they have had a significant strike happen at 7 of their distribution centers around the country. And that's everywhere from New York to San Francisco. So not all distribution centers, but at 7, they've had workers walk off the job because of a dispute over wages. And the Teamsters Union is involved as well. The Teamsters Union represents, according to my numbers, about 10,000 workers at Amazon. Small segment of overall Amazon employees, but has a presence in that. And so members of that union or who want to be a part of that union have walked off the job. So we're talking about some impact here. Now, Amazon has been very quick to come out, which I thought was interesting. And I say interesting because their logistics system is truly unbelievable. It is amazing how efficiently their logistics systems work. But they said that basically the effect of these folks walking off the job would not impact deliveries. They must have a whole stable of folks just ready to go to step into those vans and to deliver those packages because that sounded like a lot to me. 7 distribution centers affected. Again, it's not everybody in every package, not saying that, but that would definitely be a hiccup, I would think, in the mix of things with regards to promised delivery dates and promised delivery of certain goods in certain areas. Certainly if you are close to one of those distribution centers. It's online. You can take a look at which 7 are most significantly affected. But I was very interested to see that. And that it really came out of the blue. As far as I know, there wasn't any particular high-level discussions, at least none that were made public, about this kind of thing, and was just announced yesterday at the end of the day. And so really today being the first full day, Amazon, again, at 7 of their distribution centers, having several thousand folks walk off the job and be on strike. So going to be interesting to see what, if any, significant impacts that's going to make, meaning, and folks who are near to those DCs, those distribution centers, are they going to have a tough time getting their packages? Is going to be some slowdown in the mix on things? I don't know. Check those dates, check those updates that you get from Amazon there. Make sure that the stuff that you ordered is on its way. Speaking of things of slowdown or the possibility of things being disrupted, economically related, not involving a publicly traded company, but the federal government. You may have seen this. Federal government. So looking at Congress or looking at the House and the Senate, failed to pass a CR or a continuing resolution bill or an omnibus bill for that matter, either one, which would continue to fund the government. So the funding for the federal government has to be passed by Congress, meaning the approval of the expenditures of the federal government and all of its employees and all of its agencies has to be approved by Congress. That may be implied, but it definitely is in the mix of things. They failed this week to pass a CR or omnibus bill. And when I say those things, CR is different than an omnibus bill. I'm saying they could have passed either one to have allowed for funding for the federal government, failed to get through. So now there's a lot of scrambling on Capitol Hill right now in order to avoid a government shutdown by this weekend. Now, it seems like from the folks with whom I've had conversations since that happened here, yesterday, 2 days ago, maybe 2 days ago that happened, that it seems like they're going to be able to get something through. But still not at this point. Still a lot of disagreement. They got to get it through both houses. So there's going to be a lot of horse trading involved, between now and the time of that passage, hoping that, especially for the federal employees, that they're not negatively impacted here. But we'll see. Anyhow, well, we're going to take a time here to hear from our sponsors here on WSIC. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us for a few moments as we come back for the second half.
Keep it right here. Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi will return shortly on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, especially compared to our 70 degrees yesterday, things are a lot chillier now as we go throughout the rest of the work week. Partly cloudy, temperatures only climb into the low 50s for the afternoon. We'll drop back tonight into the upper 30s near 40. For our Friday, it's mostly cloudy, high temperatures back in the low 50s. A couple of showers possible for the afternoon and evening. As we get into the weekend, things are going to get downright cold. High temperatures in the low to mid 40s Saturday, only approaching 40 Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Harrison's is the home of Work, Western, and Wow! We're the Southeast leader in Carhartt, and nobody has more in-stock work boots. The store is filled with Harriet, Cinch, Wrangler, and more. Get great clothing and footwear for the whole family at Harrison's. Find us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
Hey folks, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville is known for the prices and selection, but I tell you what, you may not have known the distinction that this store received with Ford and Lincoln this year. We received the President's Award for 2023 for Ford for the 5th year in a row. We also received it for Lincoln for the first year, and I tell you, those awards don't come easily. It all boils down to taking care of the customers and having the vehicles you want in stock for you to buy.
This is Fred Lowry at Lowry Drug. We now have our own brand of full-spectrum hemp extract, also known as CBD oil. I personally manage this product as it was grown on my farm here in Iredell County. It was then processed and bottled here in Statesville. This is a true herbal extract with all the medicinal components intact. A product you can trust to be authentic. And since there is no wholesaler, it's at a price you can afford. Try it at Lowry Drug on Hartness Road in Statesville.
Inspire your team and gallop to greatness. Our horses at Willow Equine are outstanding at working with people on leadership and team building skills, perfect for corporate retreats. Visit willowequine.com as you gallop to greatness.
24/7 worldwide, non-stop.
WSIC.
Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. A lot of people will apparently be getting high-tech gifts next week. Circana reports consumers flock to stores and e-commerce sites to buy technology products on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Total consumer tech spending for the 2 weeks ending December 7th was up 3.5% from the same 2 promotional weeks last year. The report says that's been encouraging for retailers because consumer electronics sales declined for 8 straight quarters after a boom during the pandemic. The planned sale by bankrupt closeout chain Big Lots to a private equity firm has fallen through. Now, Big Lots says in coming days it'll start a going out of business sale for all remaining stores. That'll mean the end of the company's physical stores, but it's not ready to give up just yet on the company itself. Company leaders say they're looking for other ways to stay in business. Ahead of today's close, Wall Street was poised to make up some of the ground lost in Wednesday's stock plunge. I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Radio.
The best talk all day long.
WSIC.
Local starts here. Dollars and Cents continues now. Here's your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to the second half of Dollars and Cents, sponsored by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here into the second half. It's football reference of today's show. Appreciate you hanging. You got 26 minutes and 10 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell, and I appreciate you spending that time with us. Producer Reese and I were just talking during the break there, rehashing a little bit of just the amazing aspect of big-time college athletics right now, and just the Wild West version it feels like that we're in with regards to NIL and paying players. And I mean, it truly is amazing. I probably shared this with you here on Dollars and Cents on a previous show, and it's only because I happened to see it documented, so that's why I was bringing it up, and just amazed at a number of dollars involved that the Ohio State college football team, the first team, so 22 players, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, the Ohio State college football team this year, just this year for this season, was being paid in aggregate $20 million, almost on average $1 million per player that those players. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be. That's a different style of argument. I was just amazed the number of dollars. Now, again, it's not going to be true probably that the left guard is getting paid as much as the starting quarterback. I get it. You know, there are it's true in the NFL, right? Your quarterback is going to be, your starting quarterback is going to be paid very differently than perhaps the punter is going to be paid. But just amazing to see how quickly that has moved in big time college athletics, and it'll be very interesting to see how it evolves, because I think it will. I don't think it can stay in its current form. We might just do a separate show on NIL here on Dollars and Cents at some point. All right, let's keep going here. We talked a lot of academic there in the first half of the show. I appreciate you hanging with that. I think it's important stuff, especially when we're talking about Federal Reserve reducing interest rates. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the next segment as well. Effect on markets, effect on you. Kind of thing. And, we're talking monopolies, and we're talking about possibility of government shutdowns that we hope don't happen. So we got to pivot up a little bit. We got to talk about one of our favorite subjects here on Dollars and Cents, and frankly, all the staff, I think. Nah, I won't. Yeah, I'll say all the staff. Absolutely. I'll go ahead and just declare it. We love talking about food. We also love eating food. We really do. And I can especially say that for myself. It's almost one of the requirements of being on air here at WSIC. So we got to talk food a little bit. Yeah, we're going to wrap it into the markets and into publicly traded companies. Darden Restaurants, DRI, David Roger Indian, publicly traded company, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. Darden Restaurants came out with their quarterly earnings. I'm going to raise my hand. I've said this for a couple of quarters right now with Darden. Very interesting, very positive in terms of their earnings report, not only in terms of the current quarter, but in what they see going forward. They're firing on all cylinders, it feels like, over Darden right now. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but they really pointed to two parts of their business, because Darden owns several different labels or different brands. Olive Garden, Smoky Bones. They used to own Red Lobster a number of years ago, and they really pointed to Olive Garden as being one of their primary drivers. Just tremendous margin growth at Olive Garden, excellent traffic coming in the door for Olive Garden as well, and also Chuy's. Chuy's is the Mexican restaurant chain that they bought now under their umbrella. Now, I'm not talking about Chuy, the pet product pet product distributor rather, but I'm talking about Chuy's, CHUY, which Darden Restaurants bought. Again, Mexican food restaurant chain that they bought tremendously good numbers as with regards to sales and margins. So they came, the stock popped about 15%. Very, very interesting to see that kind of response. Very positive kinds of movements there with Darden Restaurants. Very interesting to see that. Now, I got to bring one on the other side of the ledger. You bet. I'm still talking about food. I'm not leaving that yet. So Lamb Weston. Now, Lamb, yes, like the animal, and Weston, publicly traded company, ticker symbol Larry Water. Not one that you probably know about a whole lot, but they are in the frozen potato product business. All right, so if you're in the frozen section at your grocery store and you see those bags that you can buy in the frozen section that have French fries or potato wedges or other kinds of potato products, chances are you're going to see several that are under the Lamb Weston production or Lamb Weston label. Not just Lamb Weston themselves, but they have a number of labels that other DBAs are doing business as underneath Lamb Weston. But they were on the other side of the ledger here. Very interesting. They ousted their CEO. And when they came out with some very disappointing quarterly earnings, stock dropped by 20%. So big drop overnight, especially for a relatively conservative company, which Lamb Weston is. And very disappointing, not only in terms of quarterly earnings, but in what they anticipated going forward from a demand standpoint. I would think that would be a little bit more on the staple category, meaning frozen potato products in terms of what folks are buying. But at least on their end of things, on Lamb Weston end of things, definitely not doing as well. So kind of interesting to see that. So we got Darden restaurants, people going out to dinner to Darden restaurant brands doing pretty well, especially Olive Garden. But on the frozen potato end of things, not going as well for Lamb Weston right now. And they're definitely going to be doing some restructuring, taking a look at what business segments maybe they're going to let go or they're going to reduce or what needs more investment. But they obviously felt the current CEO was not the person for that job. And so they're moving on to look for another one. All right, let's keep going on the food line here. I love talking food. You know that. And so I am very intentional about talking about companies that are publicly traded so that we can talk about them here on Dollars and Cents so you can know what's going on in the markets. Going to another big one here. I was talking about this with producer Reese as well. And I'll admit, I did the nose wrinkle, right? When you hear something that is not exactly, especially food-wise, that maybe you've tried before, and so you wrinkle your nose and squint your eyes a little bit when you're thinking about whether this would be an enjoyable culinary experience or not. All right, I'm looking at you, Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper, part of the publicly traded company, Keurig Dr. Pepper. Keurig, the coffee pod people. Dr. Pepper, obviously, soft drink and energy drink and sports drink group. Ticker symbol Kelly David Paul. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold. Keurig Dr. Pepper. But I came across this. I did not know this. But as part of the holiday theme, if you will, that some of the news that's coming across my screen is apparently, and this may be true for you, there is a holiday tradition among some here in the U.S. of having hot or warm Dr. Pepper, which I thought was kind of interesting. We think about soft drinks very quickly, at least I do. I think about soft drinks only in their cold form, right? Aluminum can coming out of a refrigerator or something else that is keeping them cold, a cooler of some kind. No, hot or warm Dr. Pepper. And apparently, at least according to this article, and everything on the internet is, well, not, I can't even say that. I know we sometimes say that everything on the internet is true. I don't think I can say that legally anymore, but because it's not. But apparently this is a tradition among some that you actually have Dr. Pepper in a crock pot. So you pour Dr. Pepper just as it is into a crock pot. You let it warm or become hot. And then you pour it, I guess like a hot cider, or maybe like some other kind of warm holiday toddy of some kind, warm holiday drink of some kind. You pour it into a cup and you enjoy it sometimes, at least according to this article, sometimes with a little splash of whipped cream or whipped topping on it, which I'm all for that. I could even just take that by itself. Don't even have to have the hot Dr. Pepper, but okay, I'm open to that idea. I think you know me well enough here on Dollars and Cents now. Definitely open to culinary experiences, which I haven't had previously. But that one kind of caught me. That one, I was looking at that going, okay, I guess because I'm so used to soda drinks or other kinds of carbonated beverages to be in cold form that I really hadn't thought about, okay, what if we actually warm this up a little bit? But apparently Dr. Pepper, that is, which again, if you're thinking Dr. Pepper here in the Carolinas, we also always think of Cheerwine. Cheerwine. I mean, you can make an argument either direction. I'm not taking away from the Dr. Pepper folks, but you put a Cheerwine or a Dr. Pepper in front of me, I'm grabbing the Cheerwine. That's just a sidebar, just because we're in the Carolinas here, and that's good stuff. All right, let's keep going here. One more food item here that we're going to have here in this segment, talking about, and it's the Christmas season, and Christmas season obviously about a lot of different things, very important things. But it usually involves some level of food or taking in food, and certainly cookies are a part of the talk or the experience for so many folks when it comes to the holiday season. I'm not talking about homemade cookies here. I'm talking about Oreos. Oreo. I mean, been around for a while, right? Oreos, actually, the not Oreos in and of themselves, not publicly traded. Oreos, the company, is actually owned by a group called Mondelez. Mondelez Monstrous. Food production, food manufacturing outfit. They are publicly traded. Ticker symbol Mary David Larry Zulu, MDLZ. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. Huge outfit. And Oreo, I mean, just again, one of those brands. You got to put it up there, in my opinion. You got to put it up there. Oreos. You got to put it up there with Coca-Cola, Pepsi, right? With those kinds of Wrigley gum kind of thing. I mean, they've been around for a long time. I mean, when you say Oreos, I would dare say, no matter who the group is, you're probably going to have some level of awareness and understanding of who Oreos is. Anyhow, next year, here's the big news: 6 new varieties of cream. I mean, that they've done a number of things through the years. I know that we had peanut butter cream, we've had chocolate cream, we've had other kind of mixed cream sort of things where you've had different additives to it. They're coming out with 6 new creams or 6 new flavors of cream in 2025. Irish cream, and there was one that looked like it had a honey flavor associated with it. And they're also going for a bigger mega stuffed cream, which is one of my favorites because it has actually double the cream, or actually some folks say it's not double the cream. They're probably right. More cream than the average one inside of it. So you're going to have a super mega double stuff kind of thing that's going to be out there as well. I don't know about you. That's one of those things, especially with how those packages are put together. I could crack one of those open, maybe even have that in one hand and a warm Dr. Pepper in the other hand. And I think that could go together. I could actually see that. I think that actually makes good sense. You decide. You decide if that's something that's good to you. All right. We're going to take a little break here as we get ready for the fourth quarter here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I appreciate you hanging with us. Hang with us for a few minutes more as we come back in a moment.
With certified financial planner Joshua Dobi is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, partly cloudy skies. We work our way through the rest of our evening. Temperatures dropping to mid and upper 30s overnight. As we get into our Friday, mostly cloudy. Don't expect a lot of rain, but a couple of pesky showers are possible. High temperatures are back in the low 50s. But by the weekend, we're just going to get downright cold for Saturday and Sunday and on into the beginning of the week of Christmas. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Friday night, downtown Mooresville welcomes everyone to their Mistletoe Sip and Shop. The unique businesses will be offering open houses, store specials, deals, gifts, treats, and the Harmony Grits Quartet. Bring your favorite people and enjoy shopping small this holiday season in the heart of Mooresville. The Mistletoe Sip and Shop is Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. along Main and Broad Streets in downtown Mooresville. Saturday is the annual Lake Norman Lighted Christmas Boat Parade. The parade will start at Blythe Landing, continue past Ramsey Creek Park and the Peninsula Yacht Club, with the Duke Energy Explorium being the grand finale. The event will be collecting toys for Little Smiles, who work with area children's hospitals to make sure children in their care have toys all year long. Please bring an unwrapped toy if you are attending. Santa and food trucks will be at the Explorium. For details, please email cbaycharlotte@gmail.com or search for the annual Lake Norman Lighted Christmas Boat Parade on Facebook. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway is happening now through Sunday, January 5th. The light show features more than 5 million lights synchronized to music on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield, plus a festive Christmas village. The show runs nightly from 6 to 10 p.m., rain or shine. Drive-in movies are shown on the gigantic Speedway TV Thursdays through Sundays. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. From our WSIC family to yours, we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy holiday season. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
We're back now with more of Dollars and Cents with your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here into the 5 o'clock hour. You got 11 minutes, 58 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. I appreciate you being with us here in the stretch run. Producer Reese, no, I can't even say that. Can't even say it's that time of the year, and that's why we're talking about food, because we talk about food all year long here. That's part of what we enjoy. We are talking about the number of varieties of Doritos chips, or Lay's potato chips for that matter. I mean, the number of varieties out there. I'm sure if you like chips, which we all do here, that you might have a favorite or two. And I almost embarrassingly admitted to Reese that I actually like to have a couple of flavors of Doritos chips at the same time. Maybe like the original nacho cheese ones, the Cool Ranch, and kind of go back and forth. I know that sounds horrible. I'm not ashamed that I absolutely love doing that. And maybe like I said, maybe this time of the year, maybe I'll try it with a warm Dr. Pepper. See how that goes. That sounds like a little bit too much. You're right. I agree. All right, let's keep going here. Fourth quarter of today's show, talking about the markets and talking about where things have been, where we expect them to be. I mean, we only got a couple of weeks left here. Actually, even less than a couple of weeks left here in the year. So we're practically at the year end at this time, folks. Amazing year, really has been. Even with the sell-off yesterday, with the Federal Reserve coming out with their rate cut, still amazing. Still amazing to see that yes, the market did sell off, but in terms of overall performance for the year, as measured by our most popular indices, overall largely has been positive. Now, does that mean every stock has done well? No. Does that mean every bond has done well? No. Does that mean that everything in your portfolio has had a positive year? No. I'm taking a look at you folks that own BP Amoco stock. You're down about 12% this year. Huge company. Oil and energy companies, in some instances, haven't done as well. BP Amoco certainly among them. I just happen to be looking at them here. By the way, ticker symbol Bravo Paul BP, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold BP Amoco. But I'm saying that and offering that up because not every company has done well this year. So as we're looking at largely what has been a positive performance as measured by our stock indices, one of the first things that I do, you hear me say this a lot here on Dollars and Cents, say, okay, I see you in the index. I see that these indexes have done well, but what's the breadth? Meaning how many companies have participated in that positive performance? Well, friends, and you've heard me say this a lot this year. Frankly, you heard me saying it last year as well, because it was a similar kind of experience. We have what we call, or what I call internally, narrow breadth. And what that means is with narrow breadth, that there are a relatively few number of companies who are powering the overwhelming amount of positive performance that we've had this year. That's a little bit academic, I know it. But what we're talking about basically, technology. Technology companies, by and large, have powered the overwhelming majority of positive performance this year. Now, does that mean that companies that aren't technology companies have had bad years? No. Many of them have had very, very positive years, actually. But when you're looking at the majority of the positive performance that has been a part of the index performance, meaning what constitutes that index performance, overwhelmingly, it has come from positive performance in technology companies. That's important. And that's important because of what I'm going to say next, especially because of this time of the year, about the kinds of things that you may want to keep in mind as we get to the year end and to the start of January, especially when we're looking at the market. First big one, it's a big one, folks, and you've heard me say it. I know, probably sick of hearing me say it. That's okay, because you need to hear it consistently, and that has to do with the idea of rebalancing. Now, not everybody needs to rebalance. It may not be appropriate for you, but it is something that you at least need to keep in mind and consider. Not because everybody should do it, but because you should be aware that that is something you may want to consider. And you may think, well, why should I rebalance? It's a fair point. It may, again, not be appropriate for you. But when we're talking about the idea of rebalancing, really what that means is we're selling a little bit of the stuff that has done very well, and we're buying a little bit of the stuff that hasn't done as well. Because it's part of this axiom, wait for it, a little bit of sell high and buy low. right? I mean, it's not a guaranteed path to success. Nothing is when it comes to investing, but it certainly is something that you may want to keep in mind, especially if you've had some of those winners which have done very, very well. Let me just drag out a couple of the usual suspects here. I'm looking at Meta, Mary Edward Tom Alpha, not a recommendation. I'm looking at NVIDIA, Nancy Victor David Alpha. I'm looking at Amazon. We talked about them earlier. I'm looking at Apple. Again, all large cap technology companies which have had superlative years in terms of their performance this year. You may say, well, why would I want to sell them? They're doing famously well. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to say that it's right that you do or don't rebalance. What I'm saying is it's important that you at least consider it. Because if something is up 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100% or more in a year, folks, that's not normal. It's positive. I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you own it. But it's also not normal. So you want to be aware of the fact that as those kinds of things can move sometimes parabolically in a positive direction, and if you're watching me on the socials here on the WSIC app, which by the way, if you don't have the WSIC app, get over there on the Google Store, on the Apple Store, pick it up. You can always listen to us, live broadcast recordings, all that good kind of stuff. Really great to have, especially if you're traveling, especially this time of the year. But if you're watching me on the socials right now, I say there's a parabolic move or a big up move, right, in the positive direction. Very often, there is at least a possibility that you could have a move in the opposite direction in a negative way. That's very, very important to keep in mind. Sometimes it seems like as a market, we forget that. We need to keep that kind of thing in mind. If something can appreciate quickly, it can also depreciate quickly often. Not always the case, but definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So think about rebalancing as we're getting to the end of the year. You're going to get your year-end statements here, first, second, third week of January. Great time to take a look and see if that's something that you should consider. All right, what else should we consider here towards the end of the year? Christmas, New Year's. It's a happy time of year. It's also the kind time of the year where a lot of folks get engaged or they get married, all that good kind of stuff. Big life events. That brings us to the second thing. Make sure if you've had a significant life event in this past year, in 2024, positive or negative, so maybe it's marriage, maybe it's welcoming a newborn, maybe it's divorce or unfortunately death of a loved one, this may be a time to take a look at your beneficiaries. Specifically, if you have a beneficiary that's on there that you don't intend to be on there, you need to make that change. This is especially true for folks who have gone through divorce and death scenarios. Very, very, very important that you take a look at those beneficiaries because after you pass away, very often those things are irrevocable. Now, I say very often, it's almost always the case. Every once in a while, there is somebody who's able to change a beneficiary, but that's very rare. Generally speaking, if you pass away with a beneficiary named on a life insurance policy or on an annuity contract or on a retirement account, that's locked in and it cannot be changed. So if you have an ex-spouse on there or you have a family member who's passed away, it may go to somebody else that you didn't intend when you were living. And that's very, very important to keep in mind. So again, if you've had major life events, both positive and negative, but especially if you've had negative life events this year, I'm looking specifically at folks who have suffered through the death or divorce aspect of things. Make sure that you change those beneficiaries to be reflective of your new choices. Whether it's you may have been married again, or you want to change it to another family member, or to change it to a sibling, or to a friend, or whatever, or to an institution, charity, whatever it may be. You want to make sure, just check in on that kind of stuff. I know it's not exciting. It's not the kind of thing that you're chatting about at the holiday parties. I get it. At least I hope you're not. I do. But I don't always have the most normal conversations at holiday parties. So I hope you're not having those kinds of conversations at holiday parties. But you definitely want to take a look at that. Along those same lines, third big item, when it comes to year-end kinds of things, holiday kinds of things, first of the year kinds of things, take a look at those documents. Very closely related. When I'm saying documents, I'm talking about your will. I'm talking about your power of attorney. I'm talking about your trust, your healthcare power of attorneys, all of those kinds of things that are important. You want to make sure that the names and the responsibilities continue to line up with your wishes and to make sure that none of those names need to be changed out, again, due to positive or negative personal events which may have happened this past year. You want to make sure that folks are continuing to be willing, especially if you have folks who are named as trustees, if you have folks who are named as guardians for the possibility of dependent children at some point. Very, very important kinds of things. Again, I know it's not always the most encouraging or enjoyable kind of experience, but you want to check in on that kind of stuff. So again, big three as we get to the end of the year. No good sermon has more than 3 points. I was told a long time ago. You want to take a look at rebalancing your portfolio, not because you have to. You just want to have that idea in mind. Maybe it applies to you, maybe it doesn't, but definitely something important to consider, especially if you've had outsized positive or outsized negative performance in your holdings this year. Second big item, you want to take a look at your beneficiaries, especially if you've had big life events. Make sure you got them lined up in the correct ways on either side. Same thing, corollary, but similar. You also want to take a look at your documents, wills, powers of attorney, trusts, healthcare powers of attorney, all of those kinds of legal documents. Make sure the people and responsibilities noted on there, the delineations, especially as part of your will, who's going to receive what parts of your estate, continue to be in line with what you would desire. All right, I know I got to do that kind of stuff. It's the end of the year. It's very important for you to keep that kind of thing in mind. Every year we're doing that as we get closer to the end of the year. So I appreciate you indulging me on that. All right, let's talk markets. I know big item here. Last couple of minutes that we have in today's show. As we talked, very positive year's performance. What do we expect for 2025, though? What do we expect in terms of what's coming up here for 2025? Well, nobody knows. You know that. It's always interesting to me, sidebar. It's always interesting to me whenever you're looking at folks who make prognostications and predictions about what the market's going to do in the year. There was somebody at one point, I forget who it was. There was somebody at one point who asked several so-called experts about what their top stock picks were for the following year. And then they literally had a monkey point to some things on point to several stock names on a newspaper, and they would compare at the end of the year. I'm laughing because I think it was kind of a toss-up. Sometimes the expert won, sometimes the monkey won with regards to what actually performed better during the year. I'm not saying that a monkey can do this job. Well, maybe I am saying that sometimes, but definitely very interesting in saying that we don't know what a year is going to bring. But we do know that from an economic standpoint, we continue to have low unemployment. We continue to be in a space where inflation has been reduced, but it doesn't look like interest rates are going to be reduced in the same ways that we anticipated. So it's going to be interesting to see what segments of the market benefit the most from that. Going to be a very dynamic part of the process. Well, friends, we're rapidly approaching the end of today's show. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on this week's version of Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Tune in with us next week here on WSIC.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W260